small but very important players in the telecom sector. Because these days, without internet, nobody will be able to work. That is what life is now, 21st century. We need internet for communication, to do our work. We need internet, really. And now at least we have access to fiber, to the ACE cable. And some of the challenges we have is that even though we have fiber now, we still have challenges with pricing because, you know, we all know what monopoly does. There is only one cable coming to the country, and this one cable coming to the country is being managed by, it's under control of the government, I can say. And it's a kind of monopoly because we are asked, the prices are, we have to pay the prices we get, we have to pay. If we can have another cable coming to the country, we know it's not easy. We know Sierra Leone is a small country, but we know it's possible as well. So if that's one thing you can look into or facilitate, that would be good. And another challenge we have as ISPs is that with the inception of the cable, not all of us were allowed to lay down fiber cables. Initially, it was just Seratel that were able to provide, to have access to the cable, the F1 cable. Of course, initially this project started, some of you may have knowledge of what obtained previously. It started with us being shareholders of SALCAB, and then eventually we're no longer shareholders, we're supposed to pay for capacity, and that's history. And now we pay for capacity. But initially only Seratel were allowed to lay cable to, well, given access to the fiber. But eventually we request by customers, because when they have access to direct fiber, it's easier, it's cheaper, it's faster. What we as ISPs have been doing is, even though we have access to the fiber, the source of our capacity is fiber, we transmit our last mile to the customer has been by radio link, microwave. And now over time, we have more and more requests from customers for fiber services. And we are a company who does not want to do anything we have not been legally authorized to do. So we see other people, other ISPs laying fiber, and we are also looking at that opportunity, and we don't know how the committee can look into that with the authorities to see what can be done for us so that we'll be able to have access as well. We know recently there was a discussion at the Ministry of Information and Communication regarding that, but we're still waiting to see what can be done for us. If a particular body or particular institution will be able to do the infrastructure for us, and we as ISPs do the last mile, we'll be very much happy. We'll be very, very happy, because that is really what we're looking for. That's a huge investment. If someone can do it, if the government can do it, we'll be happy. And then we in turn pay whatever charges are required. We will be happy. What all we want to see is that it is free, it is fair for everyone, and everybody has equal opportunities to that. For now, that is basically what we are challenged with, and I don't know if my colleagues have anything else to add to that.
Yes, let me just say good afternoon. Of course, my colleague have already mentioned that it's a pleasure having a whole country at our doorstep.
Exactly.
Yes. My name is Noah Dabeni, as my admin already introduced me. What I actually want to talk about is the regulations.
What is your designation?
I'm the Chief Finance Officer.
Chief
Finance Officer.
CFO.
CFO. what I really want to talk about is about regulations. It's about the documents that keeps the relationship between ourselves and our regulators. One of those documents is the one between our and NATCOM. You know, very recently, I think 2020, NATCOM did there was a new act that came out.
Regulations.
Yes, that has to do with regulations. Well, one concern we actually have with that, unfortunately you are here now, we can put forward to see how that could be looked into, is the fact that we as ISPs, we have been treated at equal level, or we have been put at par with the MNOs,
Yes.
that is the mobile companies. Okay, that's a very big disadvantage to us, in the sense that looking at us as small players, if you look at our budget, our cash flow, every other thing that we are operating within the sector, I think we are at the tail end. But let me just take one example. For example, the annual subscription that we pay to NATCOM. Before now, we used to pay per link. But with these new regulations, we are no longer paying by link. Rather, we are paying by capacity. Okay, and we as ISPs, for example, our own operations, we can take the frequency, but we have a minimal use for it. If I say, for example, I have 30 sites here, and I look at my competitor, and I look at the MNOs, they might be transmitting like 1 million times as compared to what I will be transmitting. And they are all over the country by virtue of the strength that they have. And so if we are charged at the same amount and with the same kind of trend, there's a kind of disadvantage of it. And so we really want this body to look into it. Yes, we agree we are all in the communication sector, but let there be distinction between us. It's a joy if we are treated as equals, but at the same time we cannot be treated as equals, because indeed we are not equal. At some level we'll be disadvantaged, and that's what we are now facing. Based on the new regulation, the charges that we have to pay to NATCOM, actually this is something that we have to go by. It's like say we have to close the company, because we cannot go along with that. And I think at that time, the regulation was passed. One of the irony around that was the ISPs were not treated as separate body. Instead, we are all treated as one, and I didn't want to name names, but maybe at this point I'm forced to. Orange, we are representing us at that point, for all of us. So you can imagine that whatever deliberations that we are done to pass that act, we are disadvantaged because we are not there to speak for ourselves. So if at this point we can have a space on that seat that at any time you have deliberation, you have something to do with the communication sector, let ISPs be represented as ISPs and MNOs be represented as MNOs. So at that point, we can put issues forward that are pertinent to us and we discuss vividly.
Thank you very much. What's your name?
No.
Finance Officer, Noah. All right, honorable members, this is very important that we've had their concerns and challenges. Well, Mr. Noah, let me bring you to speed on this one. As you rightly said, you were represented by Orange, and that was not our making. It was your making. And I suppose you should have asked Orange not to represent you otherwise, because they were there for us as parliamentarians. They said we are representing the ISPs and the operators. So collectively, that was the voice of all of you. So it was not our own making. And I think I chaired that meeting, the session we had. So that was what they said. So nobody will take blame for, nobody will take compliments on our own part or their own part. All we could say, we did what was necessary for the markets. Because it was what fit to have regulations, because it was only one regulations. You can enjoy throughout the tenure of one regulation, one page of regulations. No one was questioned how you operate or not. It was a darling regulation for you. You are like enjoying it. Very
went
nice.
as a team.
Yes, but when we realized that it was necessary for the industry to have the proper regulations, it was fit for this committee to effect that regulations, and it came as a regulation for operating tool for network. So if you do have issues relating to pricing, and those pricings was part of the regulations, and you will have asked NATCOP on your own side to give it a human face. That's not our own side. Maybe they could have said, okay, let's treat it this way, but not for us. For we, as for Parliament, we follow up as to how best they have executed those regulations as we passed. So that's one reason why we're here. Thank you for those updates. So we don't want to be like, we don't want to engage this forum for them. So let's have you want to say something?
Basically captured everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have one question.
Yes.
Why is the managing director of the chief education or the chief executive officer? Why is it not?
Well, we came in earlier, I think.
Yes,
the
actually, I spoke with chairman and the secretary because our CEO is currently admitted next door here, Church Samasusu. He's not feeling well, he's there. So that's why he's not here.
So let's have a few contributors to this discussion.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much. I just want to ask this. First, to commend you in the difficult turbulence you are able to navigate your way. You are still alive. That's the delicious part of it with investments, and we do hope that you will certainly survive it and the challenges you have forwarded to us. But I will also ask this question: how compliant are you in terms of local content policy? That is one question. And other tax matters, how updated are you on that in terms of NATCOM obligation, NRA, and also UDA? Yeah. How far have you gone with that in meeting your commitments to the people of this country? Thank you.
Yes, Coach Ivy. Let's have a few contributors. Note the questions down so you
The
explain.
commercial manager raised a very important point. The possibility for the creation of a monopoly in the handling of the fiber system in the country. In fact, when we discussed redundancy in Spain, during the period when we were trying to lay this cable here, that matter was discussed by many countries. We know that ACE was quite prepared to support us. The World Bank was prepared to support, etc., etc. But at some point, everybody also knew that the sector would grow so rapidly that there would be need for a second or third cable. Now, so what do we do? If we leave it as it is at the moment, whether we like it or not, there is already the semblance of a monopoly. Now we are saying, as a government policy, that what we need to do is to encourage the private sector to be part of this whole process. If they too can work together and work towards the laying of a second or a third cable, that will help the situation. This is why, madam, when you raise the issue of shareholdership, that's what I had in mind when I said the private sector should buy shares, with the hope that at a future date, they will see themselves as part of the whole process, and all of them will work together to make sure that they land a second or third cable. But now, as it is, we all rely on one company, and that company itself cannot be guaranteed, because in the event of any snapping of the system, we may have difficulties. You know, recently in Madagascar and one other East African countries, they had a difficulty whereby redundancy was totally breached because the cable snapped and cannot be replaced, and the whole country was in a blackout. So yes, we agree with you. So you come with a suggestion. Do you want the government to help fund a second cable or a third cable? Or do you want us to encourage the private sector? Because it must have suggestions. because all these things will have to report. The chairman there will have to report, because the thinking of you participants in the sector is very, very important. So come to us with a suggestion. Do you want the private sector to be part of a process to land a second cable or a third cable, or do you want the government to start? Because it is quite an expensive enterprise. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Dr.
Mr. Chairman, the issue of equal treatment of the unequals is very, very important. And we passed the resolution when we were presented to us. And at any point in time, clients sit before us, they take oaths. It is actually disturbing to hear that the representation made by Orange does not represent the interest of the ISPs. That in itself is very deceitful as part of Orange. And as a committee, we do not want the ISPs to be folded up, and we do not want to keep them out of business. So I think we were proposing to have a meeting where we would bring up some of these issues to the attention of the minister and NATO, so that they can find a way to ensure that the ISPs are treated separately. You cannot treat, if I am a layman, you treat me with that of a bishop. There should be some dichotomy. So I want us to take this message very seriously and to see, as lawmakers, how we can intervene to mitigate this unfortunate situation. And further, we take note to ask Orange, who sat before us during that time and claimed to be representing both the operators and the ISPs.
All right, noted. Thank you.
On my side, if the presentation made by Onlime is anything to go by, with respect to what my senior colleague just said, I consider that one very unfair, because they are this younger player or the smaller players in the market, in the industry, and therefore must be as well treated fairly. So for me, Mr. Chairman, there is every reason for us.
You know, let me. I don't
Mr.
want to cut you out down on this. Honorable, give us a twist mind. They said they went there and said you are going to fight for those pricings, those regulations to review, and it was serious back and forth. So let's assume they are going to, the battle was going to win by them, or they are going to win the battle. Are they going to say you are not represented?
Well, Mr. Chairman, can you be enough?
I don't have to completely we are not represented.
Yes, whatever we look at
They don't
it,
completely
there is
be
every reason for
represented.
us to look into that allegation. It's serious.
Okay.
Otherwise, they will one day be thrown out of the market.
Okay. It's a PC.
There are a few things.
Yeah,
There are a few things we need to take cognizance of. There are MNOs that are internet service providers as well. You know, like you said, Orange, you know, and you said, they are all ISP. Then what should be done is that when you treating MNOs, you treat them in a separate class. And when they are treating the ISPs, they treat them in a separate class. regardless of the fact that those companies operate both MNOs and ISP. But you cannot treat them with the MNOs and ISP that they are providing as one. You understand? So when you make the rules, you understand, you categorize them separately. Let all ISP be treated equally, regardless of what they and then for those of them that are MNOs and ISP, they should be treated at two different levels. You understand? If they are to make any commitment or in terms of tax, they should do it one as MNOs and they should do it two as ISPs. You understand? But you cannot just jumble them together. It's a big disadvantage to the others who are not MNOs, you see. So to me, I want fair play, because the profits they make offering ISP could be even more than the profit these companies online would make offering ISP. So when you come to ISP, let us treat them equally, and when we go to MNOs, we deal with them exclusively instead of them hiding ISP under the MNOs and covering up for the ISP only.
When the instruments came to Parliament, before NATCOM made them in Parliament, the entire MNOs and ISPs were invited. Mr. Chairman, that day, for 2 days, the ISPs and the MNOs sent in low-key people to go and argue with NATCOM. I was there. That was what the first big mistake we did, was in sending young, inexperienced people to go in before Parliament. And at that time, it's not only the committee, but the entire Parliament of slaves was there at one. I was there. I raised the motion. I said, you are putting yourself at a disadvantage. Big guns to come and fight or defend or argue with NATCOM. That was exactly what happened. There were no people of high representation from the ISPs to make the differentiation. And we are not NATCOM.
Exactly.
NATCOM, you should have argued there, then we would have seen the sense. As the entire members of Parliament, 148, I would say 85% was there. But you said the low-key people, and NATCOM came with the big guns. All of them were there, from MP to the bottom, including even some members of the board. Yes, you see, the commissioners were there. And nobody raised this issue. A lot of people were on your side, but we didn't get the information. So, if you complain now, you should have complained right before Parliament to say NATCOM is not differentiating between us and them. But you were not there. You see, so they invited them. The letter that we wrote, I read it, was for all of them to go in. I even dictated part of the letter, inviting all the ISPs, MNOs, all that. They went, but low-key people were sent. I told them, I said, this is a big mistake we are doing. So, Mr. Chairman, we should not come and conclude here.
Yeah.
No? NATCOM is the regulator. They have to defend themselves to the regulators. And if they cannot, then they come to us. I'm sure if you would have come in and put in the statistical data of the MNOs, also running as my boss there said, as the ISPs also, then we would say you are monopolizing the market. So if you are monopolizing, let us give a break to the taxation system of the other smaller ISPs. because NATCOM will not make a difference. And you said it clearly here. You went as a consortium, en masse, represented by the big ones. They were only defending their own. I can remember it was a big tussle. We were called in different categories, different places for us to ease some of what they raised. Nobody raised to say, no, they should separate us with the ISPs, the smaller ones. We the big ones, we should be good with this, and the smaller ones good with this. So, Mr. Chairman, I just want to ask now, on the fiber issue, you said other companies are beginning, like Seratel, to have access to the fiber. How do they do it? And you said other companies are also doing that. Who is the monopolist now? When you said that a monopoly, who is now in charge of the fiber cable in terms of laying out the metro? Are you part of the metro system? That we want to know. And the Honorable Minister of High Capital, he has said government to support a second cable. The first cable is the government, the government of Sierra Leone for it on the no. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Honorable Member.
It was a no.
It was a no. So if we say to support back, can the government get a second no?
No, but because the simple reason it was, let me just be devil's advocate here. It was a loan, and government is the moral guarantor for whatever we do. And of course, we as parliament, we serve as the moral guarantor for the people of this country when it comes to those laws. But it has to come back to parliament if it's deemed necessary for another second phase. Remember, the unbundling of SALCAP, which one set of it has gone to Zulabs, and you could remember Zulabs will now be paying. That's fine. No, but that one, I don't know how that one could navigate their way to that. They are paying what's required of them to be paid, and Kotuabi is here.
No, but we could have negotiated that.
Anyways, can we allow the yes? Are you done, sir?
You know, what I want to recommend to you, you should listen to all of this.
Yes.
Then we make our minutes. Then we as a committee sit and see what
we will take it up with the minister when we wish to the minister.
The minister. But let us just listen to them.
Right.
So who are the
you can respond swiftly to us. Yeah? Thank you very much.
For the questions, it means you are interested, very much interested in these issues we have raised. And in terms of compliance, I'll let CFO answer. I know we are compliant, but I'll let him answer these questions, and the regulatory part as well. He will answer that. And we we were asked the question as to whether we are part of the metro system and who are laying fiber cables. Our expectation is that the government is to lay the metro and make it available first, of course, at a fee, and we're willing to pay. That was even expressed at the ministry during the previous meeting. We're willing to pay, and we just want it not to be in the hands, if it is in the hands of one person, we don't want one person to be a wholesaler and a retailer. Like now, we're paying for bandwidth to Zula, and we are providing service to the consumers. So we are looking at a situation wherein there is a definition: a supplier is a supplier and a retailer is a retailer. We are retailing this service, and we want to continue to retail it. So what we want is the government, however means, from the unbundling, I think LSTC should be the ones in charge of the metro. But that is for government to decide. For us, we just want the infrastructure to be made available to us, and we're willing to pay for that service, but then we also want a clear-cut demarcation of who does what. We wouldn't want a situation wherein the same people that are our suppliers, they end up becoming retailers as well. So we will be kicked out of the market. Who do we sell to? Obviously, if the supplier is selling to consumers, then where are we? That is our only plea to the committee.
Okay, this is well written. You've done?
Yes, my
Yes, okay.
CFO will answer. And again, just to add to what the honorable members of parliament have already said, the deed has been done. The fact that we as ISPs were not represented, we would take blame as well for that. However, we regard this as a family meeting because you are representing us. And there will always be a way to resolve certain issues that happens in families. And now we realize that this is serious, this is important. It's possible that we may not have received the invite, or we may have received it, I really can't say. But now this is affecting us in this way. And we know you care, that is why you came. So we are really looking forward for a solution from you. And we know that nothing is engraved in stone. An act is an act, but we know that this act can be revisited.
Okay, well done.
Yeah.
Missy, you want to review again all of this?
Oh,
yes.
yes.
I am Mr. Chairman.
Can I invite?
Together, you present yourself to both the ministry, the NATCOM, and to Parliament. But you cannot do it individually.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah.
You are the only last speaker for this meeting.
The commercial manager, right?
Yes, the commercial officer.
Yes, you made a statement that you don't want the supplier with the retailer at the same time. My question here is, when the process was going on, did people envisage that this problem was going to come out of this arrangement, so one arrangement that is now affecting your output in terms of, because definitely what it's doing now is eating into your profit margin. That the clientele that you are supposed to deal with now are now being dealt with by the bigger players who are supposed to give that aspect of the business for you people to make a headway. But now, I think your appeal there is for us to intervene to modify that arrangement so that you will be given enough space to market your product, if I understand you perfectly. Now, the unbundling process, we are not consulted at all by the ministry, considering that you are all players in this market.
A meeting was held.
Informed, not consulted.
We were informed that this is what the government is going to do. And there are, of course, I know there is an agreement, a contract that was given to ZoodLabs, and that's for the ministry to determine. However, this is a concern. Nobody is accepting right now as we speak that, oh, I am retailing. They would always deny. And we may not have that hard evidence to provide that, okay, this is what is happening. But we know that if the ministry and NATCOM do not look into this, this is where we're headed. That will come to that situation wherein our very suppliers, this even to the doorstep for us, and this is all good. However, what we as ISPs are looking for is The initial arrangement they had with the government was they were giving a particular number of ADM sites to manage and became the landing station. We want their mandate to stop at that point. And whoever is allowed to lay cables to do the metro, this will help us because it's a huge investment. We would very much appreciate it. However, let them be limited to just that. And we, the service for the internet service providers, let us do the last mile.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
last man.
Yeah.
That is perfect. So now, if you who are in the business cannot produce or provide hard evidence to challenge what they are saying, how do we get that evidence? Because if we are to help you, we are supposed to get, because whatever we do must be evidence-based. And if it's going to be evidence-based, that evidence must come from the affected sector to provide us that evidence. And now, you are saying, even though you don't have the hard evidence, quoting you, how do we come in now to assist you if we cannot get the tools that we must use to fight for you?
So it is not come.
Thank you very much, sir. There are agreements and there are mandates,
Which you are all aware of.
which everybody is aware of.
Thank you.
So it is for NATCOM, it is for the ministry to ensure that everybody sticks by their mandates. Everybody
Let me just
So it takes a hard back lobby
let me just help my
on different areas
Honorable
to
Member.
have your issues actually challenged, correct?
Honorable Member, we have, I don't want to say it here, but some, and if you open the market license, that's the recipe. Everybody goes into it. Recipe for kiosk.
Yeah.
Everybody goes for it. And that is exactly what is happening currently. Some do have license, but they do not know where their limits are or not. So they think they will do the last mile. Some think it's part of my mandate. So the specifications of those licenses we are not indicated. That I'm sure. So what we can do as a committee, we will try to engage NATCOM to review their licenses as to who owns this, who should have this, or who should not do this.
Mind you, NATCOM is the regulator. Now, the extent to which the mandate is given to Dude Labs and whoever handles that area is where we must start.
That's not the point. What's their point? Everyone is doing what they are doing. They should do the last mile.
That's what
But
I'm saying.
now, let me say, honorable, Orange currently wants to do the last mile. And for them, that should not be the case.
Yeah.
I am coming. No, that's what they are saying. That should not be the case. But when they acquired 4G license, it required them to go to the last mile.
Yes, of course, it is there. So,
Let me clarify.
in other words,
Let me-
they must
let
not
me-
be the ones that issued that 4G license to them.
So that's the point.
Let me just clarify. What I want to say, Orange might argue that they are also operators. And if their license mandates them to go to do the last mile, that is fine. It's really up to the regulator. What we are saying is we cannot buy bandwidth from Zoom Labs and have Zoom Labs again do the last mile.
Sir,
No,
So they cannot be a ref and a player in the game.
let me just
That is what we know.
say, what is Zulabs intending doing, so as per what we've understood from the operators, some of the complaints, Zulabs wants to do a metro. They are not doing last mile.
No, they are not.
They want to come and have a metro pole here that has the fiber. So it will be easy for online to say, let me take it to Honorable Boston's house. They will buy from Zoom Labs, and it's easy for them to say, okay, for currently I was using online. Let me tell you now, the scenario. I was residing at Adonkia. I was using online. You have one customer, Mr. Waters.
Okay.
We share hours with him.
Okay.
So he persuaded me to get online. I started using online. When I moved to Hamilton, I cannot access online. They went there to install the online. They cannot have a way for it. So you are going to look for another party to reach my house. You get that clear? So let's assume I was having metro pole in that area. It was very easy for online to say, okay, there's a pole there which has a fiber. We will now run it from this pole to your house. That's the scenario I'm just making.
That's what they told us. Yeah.
That's what they told us.
Okay.
That's what Zulab told us. They want to make it easy for you to take it to your house.
Also.
Not like they're going to do
Okay,
this.
that is, if they had stopped at the polls, we would not be having this discussion. But the plan is not just to stop at the polls. The plan is to even take a switch to this veranda. And if a switch comes to this veranda, let's say it's assume it's your house, what is stopping them from taking the internet into that house?
No, if that's the case, it won't be like that. Yes,
No, yes, I believe that Zulab basically is operating based on the mandate they are having. Yeah. For now, they are basically trying to fix up the infrastructure, as you rightly said, and so that they can try to see how veteran unions, individuals or companies, to be able to set up their own businesses. Yeah. It means they are going to recruit people based on, the area. Let's say if I'm interested, I'm coming. They have the infrastructure somewhere. Like let's say I'm living at I call this place Mambo. Yeah. Zulab will not take the last mile. They will stop at Mambo. They will create the switch there. Then when I obtain the license from
switch or pole?
No, well, a switch because it's a pole or it's a connecting switch. Yeah. And I will pay my license. I will obtain a license from NATCOM for me to be able to operate as an ISP. Yeah. Then after having that, then I go to Zulab and they will grant me access
No,
to do the last mile.
Let's make that reference to online.
You understand?
You
Yes.
don't have, you as individual don't talk.
Oh, you can.
That's individual.
You set up a business.
No, that's my point.
That's what I'm saying.
It means you are going to kill this business for people.
No, they themselves can
you
compete.
cannot
It's not going to be
open
a
such
free
markets.
open market.
If you're going to open such market, there's a likelihood for in fact fraud.
How?
Because you not monitor them. How I'm going to run into the center and I'm going to have a license for market that is supposed to be for
Chair, ISP business is not something quality or Orange or Alpha operations. Yeah? Me and you can set up an ISP business.
Of course I know that.
Fine. So because of that, the model that Zulab are coming in with is to encourage at least people. Do you know there are other ISPs that are suffering more than online? They are there. But again, they can compete because they already have the license. They themselves can work with Zulab to see how best they themselves can do the last mile.
I'm sure should not do the last mile.
No, they will not do that. I don't think that's
And we are going to stand
But you
firm.
cannot really guarantee that, sir.
No,
Because we did an oversight to them, and that's what they told us.
If they are going to make connectivity simpler for us, we're very
No, that's fine for you.
However, that is fine for us.
So
That
it's
is
left
what
for
we
you
want.
now to go to the market and grab your customers.
But our only fear, which we're registering, is that we would not want a scenario wherein the supplier becomes the retailer.
No, they will not do the last mile. All I can say here, then that's what I got from them. That we want to make it easier for them. In fact, for people who may want to have access to internet. It's easy for us to have a switch here, a pole here. The online will just come and connect from here to your house.
Mr. Chair,
I set the example from my very self. I had to go to Orange to have their speed box for my house.
Mr.
I am
Chair,
paying 900,000 a month for my speed box.
Mr. Chairman, if I am Zulabs, I would not tell you that I'm going to go against.
No, they will not.
I will not tell you that. So what we are just saying is, we would very much appreciate it if you would ensure that they stick to their mandate.
Yeah, sure, anyways, honorable members, we will not deliberate on this for too long.
Other aspects.
Okay, there's aspects on the
Compliances.
compliances. Let's have that.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thank you, parliamentary members. Of course, for the compliance, that's not a time wasted. We are on top of it. We are on top of it with UADF, you can verify that. We are on top of it with NRA, you can verify that. We are on top of it with NACIT, you can verify that. We are on top of it with NATCOM, you can verify that.
Yeah, that's of course UDF confirmed that to us during the session in Parliament. Only ISP that have paid, it's online. Kudos to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a good thing, yeah. So otherwise, honorable members and ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is now come to an end. I want to thank you all for the time and the discussions. Rest assured that Parliament will have you back. Yeah? Thank you very much. This meeting is done.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah. Introduce yourself, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Noah Dabeni, the Chief Finance Officer for Onlime SL Limited.
Okay, Mr. Levy, right?
Noah,
Noah, just a moment ago, you had a meeting with honorable members from the Parliamentary Oversight Committee on Information and Communications. I think, is it the second time you have had this meeting with them?
It's the very second time.
Yeah, you brought up so many issues around your operations as a small company IPS. Give us background on this.
Yeah, firstly, I will tell you that we've been around for like 16 years now as a small company. We started operation in 2005. It has not been easy to get to this point, but thank God we are here. We've been dealing with the public. We are basically in the business of providing internet service for our customers. We provide service for individuals, for companies, for government institutions, and all the rest.
Okay. You explaining about challenges around licenses or which you talked about. For example, the one you talked about, you are not represented during the regulation. I don't know whether it was regulations or not. Just give us.
Yes, providing service, ISP service, internet service provision in an environment like this is not an easy one. You will agree with me. And one of those hiccups that we've been having along the line is the issue of regulations. Of course, we do appreciate NATCOM, we do appreciate the Ministry of Information, the government at large, within Parliament, for bringing up that kind of robust regulatory framework so that we as business people within this sector can be regulated, we can do business on a playing field. However, along that regulations, preparations, the issues we raised up actually was about representation and how we are treated as equals to MNOs. As ISPs, we are operating on a smaller scale, and basically we are into the business of providing internet service. As MNOs, we know they are providing internet service, and at the same time, they are providing phone calls, delegation, another aspect of communications. Okay, but these are the bigger players. So our concern is we cannot be tabled on the same table with them. Of course, that's our hope. That could be a joy for us to dine with them, but not at a level like this. In terms of regulatory framework that has to do with commitment in regards to financial commitments, license, prices of license, and all the rest. We think because of the nature of our operations, the level at which we are operating. Say, for example, you look at frequency. We require frequency to do our business. Then we know MNOs also require frequency to do their business. But the use of the frequencies are not the same. If I use a frequency, I would tell you like 30 times, but the space at which I use 30 times of a frequency, they use millions of that at the same time. And so we should not be treated at the same as equals. That's the kind of argument we are putting forward, and it's a request, it's a humble request that we are putting forward. In as much as we appreciate NATCOM, Parliament, government for bringing out that kind of robust act, but at the same time we are asking that this is a grey area. Please look into it for us. Otherwise, it will kill our business.
According to the chairman, you were highly commended by almost of all the MPs for compliance to UADF. Is that a surprise?
I
I won't say it's a surprise. This company, like I told you, has been around for like up to 16 years. For compliance, we are always there. This company, based on the training that we have, based on the background that we are riding on, compliance is one of the things that we don't joke with. We know we are in a business with stakeholders, and one of our key stakeholders is government institutions. And so therefore, whatever compliance that we have to do with government institutions, we take that seriously. And that has been our model of operation.
Finally, what is the message to your customers? Those that you do business with, what is your message to them?
Our message to our customers is simple. Keep trusting in online. Keep believing in online. We provide good internet service. You've tried it, you've tested it, you are in it, and that's the forward. That's the way forward for us, and that's what we're going to continue. So keep believing in us, keep trusting.